Helena, and welcome to Entrepreneurcast. It's such a great pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a delight to be here.
So, Helena, before we get going with the business side of things, tell us a little bit about who are you outside of your business and what do you enjoy doing in your spare time?
Wow. So this is who I am. This is someone who lives in the country, who goes for long walks with my doggy, who every now and then, if you hear a snorting, that'll be my doggy fast asleep on the floor. I love music. I love going to festivals, folk music mainly. So, hey, each to their own. I love theatre, so we go to the theatre at least once a month, if not more. Just anything that kind of is inspiring and soul nourishing. And of course, in my case, that equals food. So yeah, food, music, dogs, walking, nature, that's pretty much me. And organizing. So if you've got anything that needs sorting, anything that needs organizing, oh my God, I'm so that person.
Oh, come to my house.
I would be willing. I think if I didn't do the job that I do now, I would probably be one of the space arrangers or organizing space people.
Incredible. So, Helena, let's get into your business. What is it that you do and what inspired you to start it?
Okay. So what I do is really I take the brilliance that's in most people's heads and I put it in a shape and a structure, and I really help people be easy to learn from. So I'm all about shaping, structuring, and systemizing, usually speakers, authors, trainers, thought leaders, change makers, usually working with the people who are wanting to run businesses that inspire others to do magnificent things. So, but my part in that is they can go out and do all of that bit, but I'm the person that puts the foundations in and keeps them grounded enough to actually create products and workshops and hone their messages so that they can go out and inspire.
So between all that walking time and theaters and dancing and dogs and running your business and helping people sort their heads out,
Yeah.
What would
it sounds quite like a lot when you say it like that. I'm like, oh yeah, good point.
What would you say your typical day looks like?
Gosh, typical day. I realize I haven't answered a part of, and this is part of what my typical day looks like because there isn't one. My belief is that we start our businesses as entrepreneurs. We start our businesses because we're either 100% passionate about something, like something's really in our heart and in our heads that we just love, or I'm going to be polite, do the polite version. People can fill in the other version for themselves. We get so peeved about something, like it becomes the thing that we really just go, really? I don't, really? To the extent where we have to do something about it. I came into this business for that reason, because I've invested a lot in learning, on a personal level and on a professional level, in kind of really becoming the person that I am with the skill sets that I've got. And in the course of that, I attended many workshops and seminars and everything else. And I would stand and I would see people who fall into some traps around either barraging people with loads of information, boring them to tears, or sort of getting them to spend loads of money and just being really bossy with them, sort of like in this way. And I was thinking there must be a better way to allow people who have a brilliance to communicate it initially in workshops, but that then took itself into me realizing that many people who want to inspire don't have that sensibility of being able to put the foundations in. So really my business grew out of that. And that leads me into what is my ideal day? There really isn't one, but if I was to do a typical month, that usually looks like running 1 or 2 workshops, definitely doing 1 or 2 talks where I do my best to actually kind of help people understand what the power of foundations and structure is, as well as simply inspire them to actually go, just get on with things. Because most people kind of procrastinate and do things that you just go, just do stuff, do something, and you'll get feedback, and that's kind of how it works. So a typical kind of month or even week looks like speaking to several people in the way that we are right now, keeping them on track, checking in with them. And a good part of that is, so in the business, in my business, I've, we can choose our own titles, right? As entrepreneurs, we can do whatever we want. So we can choose our own titles. And the title that I've given myself is actually that of chief cheerleader. So the biggest part of my week, if you like, or my month, is to encourage people to celebrate. Because as entrepreneurs, we don't stop for long enough to really celebrate the successes and understand what we've done that's created something in the world, some kind of progress, some kind of movement. And that's really my core typical day. Having conversations that allow people to see and understand what progress they've made and what needs to happen for them to make more progress. There you go. Nothing typical about that whatsoever. It looks totally different every single day.
I think for most entrepreneurs, every day is quite different. And in a way, we kind of set ourselves when we're going to do what. But then we kind of have a bit of a scope also going on. So we know that there are certain things that have to be done. And then we kind of have to work with that. So, yeah.
I agree. And actually, I think you're right. There is that little piece that most people forget to put in their days, which is what I'm there for, which is to remind them to do all the day-to-day things or the week-to-week things. My belief is that there are four core types of timed tasks. There are daily tasks, there are weekly tasks, there are monthly tasks, and there are quarterly tasks. And knowing what to do when is a really important piece.
Definitely. So Helena, throughout our entrepreneurial and business journey, we come across a lot of challenges. What would you say was the greatest challenge you had, and how did you manage to overcome it?
You see the implication there is that I've overcome it. I actually probably haven't. And so I have this beautiful theory. I have this beautiful theory that we name our businesses and or our programs for where we're next stepping into, like almost as a call to action for us. And when I tell you that my business is called Helping You Shine, of course it's about helping other people shine. But if I reflect that back on myself, I've been a hider for most of my life. I am a brilliant support network person. If you think of it as a trapeze artist, if my speakers, authors, trainers, change makers are the trapeze artists, I'm the chief cheerleader on the ground, providing the safety net, but also encouraging them to go up the stair and like grab the bar and fly, right? And if they do fall, then I'll be down here to sort of catch them. But the implication there is that I hide behind the scenes and I orchestrate behind the scenes, and I'm really good at it. So the biggest challenge for me, partly in terms of growing the business, is in order to grow the business and be as visible as I can be, I've had to actually get the courage and therefore thereby the confidence to go out into the world that little bit more and shine myself. And yeah, that's taken some personal development, and it's a work in progress. So have I overcome it? No, but am I doing it anyway? Yes.
Brilliant. I like the idea, as you said, that what we name our business is our next step towards which we are working. And I think that there is some truth to it. It's actually, I never thought about it that way, but yeah, it really makes sense.
Good. I say this on the back of last year, I helped over 70 businesses really either name their businesses or name their programs. And, you know, that isn't for me to do, that is for me to draw out of them through good conversation and, you know, strategic kind of elements, etc. And when I stand back and look at all 70 plus of those, I go, yeah, there's definitely some truth in this. So if you start, and it's a really interesting filter for those of you who are going out networking, when somebody tells you what their business is, they're probably, if they're an entrepreneurially spirited person, they're probably telling you a lot about themselves and where they're at. So I drop that one in and see, go and have play with that.
Awesome. So we know your greatest challenge. But on the bright side of things, what would you say was your greatest success in your business?
Oh, wow. You know what? When I was 24, I did Operation Rally. I believe they call it Rally International now, which had me spend 3 months in Chile. You know, sort of doing some volunteering work, doing some adventure work, and sort of climbing some mountains and having a lot of fun. And one evening, everyone was sitting around the campfire, and they, you know, sort of everyone was. There was one question. We would go around, 19 people. They would all answer. And one of the questions that came up was, you know, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And you know how sometimes the brain bypasses, the mouth bypasses the brain, and the words just come out, and then you look at the words and listen to the words afterwards, and you go, yeah, that's true. My words were to make a positive difference to someone every day of my life. And so the answer to your question is, the success for me is watching someone connect the dots, or observing that inner smile that happens when someone goes, I've got that, I can do something with that now. And actually, coming back to the structure piece, when I actually nail whatever phrase it is that helps me get a business owner, a massive inspiring change maker, to understand the power of putting the right foundations in, and to spend the right amount of time in their business so that their business really can grow, that's what I call success.
And I really like how, the thing that you said, sometimes something comes out of our mouth, and then we kind of look at it. That's something similar I've noticed a very long time ago. Like, we have all these thoughts, which sometimes we don't even realize that we have, because they just change, like, with the speed of light, right? So sometimes during the conversation, we talk and we say something, and then we realize that, oh, this was actually my thought. It was in my head, but I never actually took a note of it.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like, I've noticed it a while ago, and I was like, this is so interesting. That's why I really like talking to people, because sometimes during the conversation, stuff comes out, and I'm like, it was sitting in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of like, so for me, one of the core tools I teach during one of my workshops, which is called Find, Own, and Share Your Brilliance, is the power of five. So for those of you who are listening, I'm holding my hand up, and the power of five fingers. For those of you who have them, the power of five really is an exercise that allows you to get to what are the 5 core things that, if you could fill your life with those are what really kind of make a difference. And so for me, being able to capture those allows you to get the thoughts, sort of that pop out in this way. So for me, my 5 are: I teach, I coach, I guide, I write, I learn. I teach, I coach, I guide, I write, I learn. Those really are kind of, those are the keys of my piano, really. And so the teaching part, education, the Latin root of education is educare, which is to draw out. And so for me, the reason I am a coach is because, and a teacher, is because I can draw out of people and stop them and hold a space for long enough for them to hear their own brilliance, so that they can go and do something with it. Because in our 24/7 fast world, we don't stop for long enough to really catch and then savor and then do something with the thoughts that are really important. That got quite deep and heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
That land.
We need a little, time to reflect back on it.
Yeah. At this moment, for those of you who are listening, pause, stop and think, and then press play.
So Helena, we do come up with a lot of ideas, and where would you say you come up with your best ideas?
Oh wow. Having recently moved to the country, and by that I mean in the last 18 months or so, I think I've always gotten my ideas walking. And I think I consolidate my ideas. I used to be a city girl, like I've swapped grey for green, and now living in Hampshire, it's green everywhere around me in the right season. And out walking, that whole kind of, and I think for me, that's actually a process of the ideas going into the rest of the body and being filtered by the body. That's really where most of my good ideas come from. The other place you've already mentioned, which is in conversation, in stimulated, inspiring, energized conversation with someone else. The impact, I believe that we are collaborative by, in our human nature, we are collaborative. We are connectors of ideas, of emotions, of just beingness. And so speaking of country, there is a spider crawling around my hand at the moment. That's quite exciting. But we're connectors of everything. So in the connections is where I get my inspiration, is where I get my ideas. I look at something and I look at something else and I go, what's the connection here? What's possible here? That's really it. And then I just sit with it and I walk it through. Really good.
Are you looking out for more spiders?
No, I'm looking out for this one. This one's having a good time. It's just kind of moving around the table really slowly. It's kind of nice. I am not the kind of person that sort of goes, oh, there's a spider on the table. I didn't used to be that person. So we learn all sorts of things by changing our circumstances, which is definitely something I encourage all the time. Good.
So Helena, throughout our journey, we get inspired a lot, and I'm sure you're an inspiration for many. But you yourself, who inspires you, or do you have so-called personal heroes?
I do in a very weird and wonderful way. My sister totally inspires me. She is not that way. My sister totally inspires me because she is the opposite of me. She is a teacher. We're both teachers, but she's a teacher in a traditional system. She has 2 kids. She gets on with her life. And I just go, that is really impressive, because actually that's hard work too. And so I'm always inspired by her and her ability to make me laugh. So anyone that can make me laugh inspires me. On a bigger scale, the 2 people that really kind of spring to mind, and I don't think I mentioned telly in my interests, but binge watching some good television, and good is subjective. When I was younger, and I think way before I was entrepreneurial in the way that I am now, Tyra Banks, who did the America's Next Top Model, absolutely inspired me with her ability to start doing one thing and then to grow that into something that has had global impact, that actually has been able to change the lives of so many people in it, simply by her taking the next step, and the support that she used from her mom, who kind of helped her set up the business when she was really young. She's just a really great example for me of someone who has gone out with a dream, shifted into it, seen what's possible, created more opportunities. That to me is a great example. The other person that really springs to mind, more telly, is I love Australian MasterChef. I love it. I can binge watch that. It inspires me because of not only the dreams of every single wannabe chef that's in there, but also the 3 judges are amazing. And the person that stands out more than anything because of his human heart, he's just so delicious as a human being, is George Columbaris. So again, he has this whole, chef setup, and he's got his restaurants and all of that kind of stuff. But he chooses then to spend time developing other people. And you can just see that as a human being, he has the heart of every person that he's imparting knowledge to in his heart. And that's where he comes from. So that inspires me.
Helena, you've been in business for quite a while.
Yes.
You got a lot of knowledge, experience, and wisdom. So from your experience, knowledge, and wisdom, would you share with us your top 3 tips and strategies for entrepreneur who's listening to us today to drive their business and life forward?
Wow. You see, this is why I'm really, really grateful. I think probably one of the tips that I could say is get the questions before you actually do an interview, because if you'd thrown this at me and just clean, I would have come up with something, but actually I just want to be of real value. So I have to write it down. So I'm just going to look at my notes because I want to make sure. I think really for me, it comes down to the three things that I aim to give people in everything I do. So when I work with people, I work around clarity, certainty, and confidence. And sometimes that's commercial confidence, sort of in that way. So the first thing I would say is get really, really clear on who you are, why you do what you do, and who you serve. So who, why, who. Get really clear about that. Because once you're really clear about that, that moves you on to being certain. Now, this is one of those little, sometimes if you've heard the phrase, I'm sure everyone has, of act as if. When people show up in certainty, even if they're feeling quivery on the inside, if you sound certain, you look certain, and people respond to you in a trusting you kind of way. So the way to get certain is to know what your skills are. So this is a know what and how you deliver. So know what you deliver. Get really clear on your products, like define them, and so that you can speak with them about certainty. And then how you deliver them so that you can detail out what actually happens when people work with you. Those two things allow you to show up in certainty because you know that they're true. And when you're standing in truth, you are authentically certain. And that's the thing that people resonate with on an energetic level. And then the final piece is be confident about how you share that. So when and where are you sharing who you are, why you do what you do, who you serve, what you do, how you do it, and then when and where you're sharing that allows you to confidently step out in the world. And then back to my whole hiding in the shadows and everything else. If you don't feel confident, then you can absolutely be brave anyway, and being brave anyway gives you a certain kind of confidence to show up. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Get clear, get certain, and be confident.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
And also throughout your journey, did you come across any kind of resources that helped you to, let's say, make your life easier in your business?
Wow. In today's day and age, there are so many. My flippant answer, but my serious answer is pen and paper. I can't recommend stepping away from the technology, which helps us so much, to actually just get on a page. Whether you need to write out something that is in your head because you're inspired, or whether you need to sort something through because you're confused or overwhelmed, pen and paper on the page slows you down enough to actually kind of work with it. So that would be my first primary recommendation. It is the beginning of everything. There's a spark. You take the spark and you put it in pen, paper, write it down, because that actually allows it to show up in, well, let's call it blue and white. It means you can look at it outside yourself. So that's my first. My second is actually, this whole game is about connecting to people. So one of the best ways I have of connecting to people, it's sort of merging Instagram with pen and paper, sort of, is, and this requires that you have somebody's address. So you need to get to know them fairly well. But there's an app called TouchNote, which allows you to send little postcards of photos that you've actually taken. So sometimes when I'm with a client, I actually take a photo of what they were struggling with or what they were inspired by. And a few days later, or even a month later, I go to TouchNote, I upload the photo, I write the blurb on the postcard on the back, I put their address in, and off it goes. It just sits there. And so that's like a regular subscription for me, because it just allows me to stay connected to people in a really modern way. So those would probably be my two things, pen and paper and TouchNote.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. I'm sure everybody else kind of gives you some really cool apps that, like, organize the business and everything else. And given that I'm all about structure, it probably should have sounded like, oh, I will give you this project management thing, but that's not where I go.
Helena, a lot of people I come across say that at some point in life they came across a book that changed
Mm.
their life. Did you have such a book? And if you did, what was it?
So I'm just going to do this. Books and games. I didn't say board games. That's the other thing that really kind of works for me. So we love books in this house. So we have thousands of books in this house. And the one book that I've gone through as a sort of exercise or pattern is, I think, Julia Cameron, who I had the pleasure of seeing last year, which was really great. You know, sort of, because a book can be a mentor, I think. And then when you actually get to meet the author, or at least see the author do their thing, that's amazing too. So Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way was one of my, or is one of my absolute favorite things, because it grounds a human being in who they are. And one of the philosophies, if you like, that I have in my business is grow you to grow your business. And so Julia Cameron really introduced me at the time when I was getting used to growing me. She was one of the people that kind of held my hand through that process. And I've then gone through that process over and over 6 times or so with different groups of people in order to kind of take them through. So that would be my bona fide recommendation. It's a 12-week Recovering Your Creativity program. And she's even done one right now, which I think is really important, for retirees. So she's even done The Artist's Way for retirees. So people who are coming into, because we're living much longer. So just because the world says we stop at 60 or so, actually, we've still got probably a good 30 years to go. So what do you do with that? And she helps kind of progress people in that way. Right.
I think we have more than 30 after that to go. I
I
actually
think that.
think we should, like, I think the minimum, I mean, I said to my mom years ago, I said, I'm planning to live to at least 120 minimum and be
Awesome.
in good shape, health, you know, run around, you know, do the speeches, inspire people, run a
Right.
charity. So, like, there is plenty of things to do. And I wanted to do it at least until 120, maybe until,
Amazing.
who knows, maybe until 200.
Nice. I like it. I like aspirational thinking there. It's really good. It is really interesting because I think I am coming into my own right now. So I'm heading for 50 next year, maybe next year, something along that. Yeah. So I think it's next year. And I have got the beautiful signs of, you know, I'm going slightly gray. And I think since I was a little girl, I've always held that. So back to my hiding, probably a self-fulfilling prophecy. Back to my hiding piece. I've always said to myself, I will be majorly successful when I've gone fully gray. So watch this space. Right? It's really cool.
So, Helena, you've been in business for a while.
Yes.
You know, you went through your ups and downs, your successes and challenges. You know, you've been speaking on stages, delivering workshops, inspiring people, helping them get their head out on the paper. Not quite a head, but you know what I mean. But what is next for you? What's your next big goal, dream, aim? And if there was someone listening today who could potentially help you get there, who would it be?
Wow. That's like you've given me like the fairy godmother wish. I'm completely loving that. So I think it is a book. So one of the things that I do is I seem to make it easy for people to learn. And there is a tool that I use called the 4 Intentions, which just really helps people on so many levels get that, you know, I said, get clear, get certain, get confident. The clarity piece that the 4 Intentions bring is actually that. I think the fairy godmother wish would be around probably the publisher, you know, the publisher that really wants to collaborate alongside me to get this out in the world, because actually I think it's a tool that now, to the extent where every one of my clients uses it, and they now come to a conversation going, I've done the 4 intentions on the area I want to talk about, let's talk it through. So it just saves so much time, energy, and money, you know, sort of an attention, really. So I think my dearest wish, the persons that could help me with it are, well, lots of people need to buy it because it's just really useful, but a publisher who gets it and who can help me actually go, how do I get the most juice out of the idea and actually really explore it? That's what I would love. So that's probably what's next. I'm a bit scared of it, but willing.
Awesome. That's a great fun.
Yeah, it is. And I'm watching myself dance around it. I think when we take on anything that feels really big, we do this little tiptoey dance around it where we go, can I? And that's where the confidence piece around, you know what? Just take a step, take an action, and see what shows up next. And that's really kind of what I'm doing. So I love that you've asked the question, because now I've made it even more public. That would also be one of the strategic tips. Yeah, seriously, the strategic tips is, if you want to get anything done, commit to it publicly. Cool. I think I'm done with that question. I'm a bit scared of the question, so let's move on.
So, Helena, we are coming to the end of the show.
Okay.
But before we say our goodbyes, is there anything else you would like to share with us today, or anything else you'd like to advise to an entrepreneur who's listening today?
Well, I could go on for hours, and I'm not going to. Because of the advice I'd really give is, honestly, I've probably said it 3 or 4 times already, but if you take a step, it gives you feedback, and you can take action on the back of feedback. So be open to feedback all of the time, and be aware that feedback isn't necessarily what comes out of people's mouths. Feedback is, it can be a Facebook like, it can be a card that's sent to you, it can be nature stopping you in your tracks and allowing you to consolidate that idea. Feedback shows up in so many ways. So I suppose the biggest thing I want to encourage people to do is slow down enough to listen, and then, because of course I'm going to say this, put the structure in that allows you to get the thing done in the way that you do it, which comes back to that very piece of, you know who you are and how you operate, you can actually put the things in place, the shapes and the foundations in place that suit you and how you get it done. And that's really the piece. Get really clear on who you are and how you operate, because that then allows you to set up the business in a way that serves you so you can serve others.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
You're so welcome.
So, Helena, for anyone who wants to get in touch with you or follow you in any way, what's the best way to do that?
Okay, best way, find me on Facebook is really kind of how it is. Or Helena at helpingyoushine.com is a really easy way. I love an email. I would give you my full address, but it's really long now I live in the country. So probably I'd love it if you sent me a card, but email me first and I'll send you my address and we'll go from there. But find me on Facebook, Helena Holrick, Holrick, not like Horlicks, like bedtime drink, because people do that all the time. And come and say hello. I would really love it. So find me on Facebook. I am also on Instagram. I kind of like it on there. I get inspired on there. It's all about those making connections. So Helena at helpingyoushine.com, really easy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a great pleasure to have you. I've been missing you a lot, so I really hope I'll see you again soon in person.
Yes, hurrah, hurrah to that. You'll have to come to Hampshire, come for a walk with me.
Sounds
with
good.
My dog. Which is beautiful. It's delightful, and I can't, I wish you every success with what I know you're doing, and I think the name of that actually really is kind of working. I won't say anything here. That's yours to actually say. And, I love that you're doing this. And to every entrepreneur out there, keep being inspired, keep getting energized, and keep educating yourself.
Thank you very much, Helena. We'll see you soon.
You're welcome. Speak soon.